Honorable stated that in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks maximum, works will start in that corridor from Johnson Street to Freeport. Now, the corridor from Freeport to Simple Bridge, like I indicated before, you earlier on, there's an existing contract which we are aware of. The contractor, MDMC, had committed, having been disbursed close to $4 million, which is 8.7 million. Writing to the ministry, submitted is a plan for intervention in the next week. Our team engineers and his team should be walking the corridor tomorrow to look at what was done in terms of the drainage work that got started, and to finally turn over the site for him to begin works from Freeport to Simple Bridge. So as far as I'm concerned, that project should start in the next week or two, because the contract is already finalized and he has already been paid. There's a disbursement that was paid to him, like I indicated earlier on. So, Honorable Presiding Officer and members of the Senate, Honorable Vice President, President of the Senate, that is where we are with those two corridors. Okay. When it was so with the other corridors. So let me just run quickly, Honorable Senator, if I'm permitted to do so, over the 100 days corridor. And we presented a plan to the Senate before the last rain season. What the President said, no car will get stuck in the mud. The indication was that we needed to begin a process that will see our corridors becoming pliable even during the rain. We went through a process and we got contractors in that corridor by April, and that was the corridor from Salaye to Vonjima and Vonjima to Foya Minikoma. I'd like to report that between Salaye and Vonjima, we still have some issues there. The contractor is currently working. Not much work was done earlier. And so they are committed now to begin doing all of the cover installation that should have been done in that corridor. And I think it's also was a result of some lapses in terms of supervision, but that corridor is being currently worked on. The corridor from Vonjima to Foya Minikoma, you can do about 60, 65 kilometers per hour. Those of you who are from Lofa, I'm sure can attest to that corridor from Vonjima to Foya Minikoma. It's not in any terrible state. We only have not more than 3 or 4 meters of that corridor that may be challenging, and I think the contractors are working on that corridor now. The corridor from Tapeta to Zwerju, and I also want to indicate that the corridor from Kanta to Saklepi was not a part of the 100 days corridor. It was a contract that the government, through what we call the Southeastern Corridor Road Access Management Program, the World Bank project, that the government was responsible for. But there were lapses from the last leadership, and so they ended the project, got stopped 39 kilometers up to Saklepi, because we were owing the contractor $5 million, which we have not been able to settle yet. But with the commitment from the Minister of Finance that all the big projects will get unlocked, we are hoping to do that this budget year. So that corridor was not really being maintained. So you will see that during the rain, there were some challenges between Kanta and Saklepi on the corridor. We tried to persuade the contractors to see if they could do some maintenance work, but they said they are withdrawn from the corridor because the government was owing them $5 million, which was very challenging. The corridor from Saklepi to Tapeta, Channel Wayway 7, is currently paving that corridor, and hopefully holding all things constant, that project will end next year, and that's the 61 kilometer from Saklepi to Tapeta. Paving it, yes, with asphalt, or what we normally call potai. And so that corridor is being paved. There's no issue in terms of cash flow. So hopefully by the end of next dry season, we will see that corridor completed with 2 courses of asphalt. From Tapeta to Zwerju, Yes, and that was one of the corridors for which we had some praises as the Ministry of Public Works initially, before the heavy rain really came, because it was done by non-Jim which became one of the first corridor, 115 kilometers, that was very pliable. And that corridor remains stable, but there are some sections that are very difficult. And I was even on the corridor the other day up to Toasttown. The contractors have now remobilized because what happened when they got to the 55% mark for the second pavement, we had some challenges during the rains to be able to get the pavement on time. And I think it also impacted their performance between the corridor. And that's what we are hoping. Projects, we're able to turn our projects into project budget and money ring fence, so that when contractors reach the milestone, they're able to get payment, so it does not affect their delivery. Because if they're done, most of the stop work because they've reached the milestone based on what the contract is. So we've had some difficulties in that corridor between Tapeta and Sweju. One of the reasons will also be because of the work. There was some issue with supervision, and I will say that, and also in terms of formation of the corridor. Again, because we started in April, so contractors who had to perform had to make, I would say magic, but had to do extraordinary work. And I think they did some work. It was not that extraordinary because there are some corridors that are extraordinary. And I spoke about the Vajuma to Foya Menekoma, which is a little over 60-something kilometers. The corridor from Zuraju to Kawiken, that corridor is the best corridor that survived through the rain during the 100 days. And, there is the conversation about, the money we wasted. I don't think so. I don't believe so. I think we did some gains. We gained out of the 100 days and want to build on that and learn from what we did working with this contractor. From Zuraju to Kawiken, you can do it 80 kilometers per hour. If those of you who are here from Zuraju, from River G, I'm very sure can attest to that. You only find not even 1 meter of that section that is impassable. You can do up to 80 kilometers from Zurju to Kawiken. And that's the best corridor that has survived through the 100 days intervention. And I think we can build on that going forward with the other corridor that may have challenge. The one from Libo to Bagleyville, not very good. A little over 40% of that corridor is pliable into Bagleyville, but from Bagleyville back to Libo, where Golden Verilium is moving the pound, we have some challenges there because of those, the width of the corridor. But let me also indicate that the roads that were formed properly, with proper drain, proper clearing, survived during the rains. And that corridor is the corridor from Zuraju to Kawiken. So the corridors that were formed properly, the drainage system was laid like the colors, lines that were expected